my dear Tutkus, I welcome you all to Midterm Score Booster, and today we are going to talk about our environment, and this is a one-shot video where each and everything which is there in your NCERT will be covered, and along with that I will be also giving you an idea of how tricky questions are being made from this simple chapter. So what are the kind of questions that you can expect for boards as well as your midterm? Yeah, going ahead, let's start off with a question. Are you ready for the question? But seems like the computer is not. Yeah. What exactly do you mean by environment? When you say that, mummy, my environment, this is not a particular suitable environment for me to study. What do you mean by that? Everything that is there in your surroundings, right? So in simple language, I can say that sum total of all the biotic and abiotic factors that surrounds an organism, for example, me as of now, or this old nanny over here, whatever surrounds her, that is her environment. It can include biotic factors as in the living factors, okay, and abiotic factors as in the non-living things, okay. Now, how is it exactly different from ecosystem? What do you mean by ecosystem? How is it different from environment? Environment is surrounding, but I can say our surrounding is made up of ecosystem. So ecosystem, children, if you see, I say this is an ecosystem. Why is ma'am calling this as an ecosystem? Because over here, I can see that this is a community of living organisms, all the environmental factors like water, air and everything, and also their interrelationships. Over here I can see a butterfly sitting on the a flower, or a bird sitting on the twig of the tree. So each and every way, if you look at this particular picture, you will get to know that all of them are having an interrelationship among themselves, and this is what an ecosystem is. Ecosystem is nothing but a community of what? Non-living things, living things and their interrelationships. Okay, so basically environment is made up of some ecosystem. Environment is made up of some ecosystem which will be there. Now children, who coined this term? Before coming to that, that is the next question. But yes, before coming to that, if you want the notes of whatever I am teaching you, you can go to the link that is given in the description box. You will be guided to some page like this, where date wise, topic wise, the link for the PDF is given. You can download it from there. Yeah. And now comes the question, who coined this particular term, that is ecosystem? And should we remember it? It will be really good if you remember it. The name of the person who coined the term ecosystem is Arthur Tansley. Okay, it is what? Arthur Tansley. He was the person who coined the term ecosystem. Fine. Going ahead, are there different types of ecosystem? Are you aware of it? Can you think of some ecosystem as of now? Just think. Before me talking to you about that, you should be knowing at least a few. I can give you an example. Okay, there is land ecosystem, you have a name for it, and there is water ecosystem, you have another name for it. Can you think of it? Okay, let me break this down. Ecosystem, I can divide into two parts. One is natural, as in naturally occurring, you do not have to do anything in that. Artificial, where you are making an ecosystem. That sounds kind of interesting. We'll come to the interesting part later on. As of now, let's cover the boring part first, okay? So, natural, which is naturally occurring, we have two different types again. One is aquatic and the other one is what? Terrestrial. Aquatic as in, it has to do something with the water bodies, okay? So, wherever water is there and this water is acting as an ecosystem, this area is acting as an ecosystem, you call them out aquatic ecosystem. Now terrestrial is something related to land. Okay, so in land you have different type of land areas. There is grassland, where the majority of plant species are grasses. They are what? Grasses. So you will be finding animals that eat grasses over there. So you can see some animal which will be eating grasses over there, and some other animals which would be eating these animals. So you might be knowing that lions and everyone are found in the grassland ecosystem. Now talking about desert, you will be finding cactus and then camel and everything. Those who can survive in this particular features which is provided by the desert, they will be only there. So you have a unique ecosystem being formed there. Not everywhere it's the same. Not everywhere is the same. Cactus cannot survive over here. There's a different ecosystem which is formed in the desert, right? Now going ahead, forest will have a mix of lot of things, moist environment, humid environment, lot of different criteria apart from being them and being them. Okay, so these are the three different types of terrestrial ecosystem. Well, there are more, but at least if you can remember three of them. Yeah, talking about aquatic, there are two. One is freshwater and the other one is marine. We say marine. Why do we say marine? What do you mean by marine? Can you give an example of marine ecosystem? Ocean, Sea, have you visited a sea any time? Have you gone to a beach? If you have gone to the beach and accidentally some amount of water came into your mouth, you know how salty is it. Basically, marine ecosystem consists of water bodies, okay, consists of water bodies where the amount of salt, no children, it is really high. Whereas freshwater ecosystem, the salt will be really less. Okay, so you can imagine the seas and the ocean, everything comes under marine ecosystem, and what comes under freshwater? The pond, lake, river and things like that. Okay, now pond, lake, river, rather than making it very easy, we try to make it complicated. Okay, so over here, ponds and lakes comes under lentic ecosystem, and rivers and streams comes under lotic ecosystem. What do you mean by lentic and lotic? Lentic means the one where water body is there, but this particular water body is not moving. As in, it's not moving like this, it's not going anywhere else. Okay, there might be slight movement in there. So ponds and lake, if you see, there is what? Only slight movement because of the wind that is there. Okay, they are not continuously moving. Now lotic ecosystem means the one that flows. Lotic or flow, you can remember like that, the one that flows. So rivers, streams, all of them, they come under this particular category. Then there is something that is wetland. So am I just talking about pond and lake? Well, when I am saying pond and lake, I am talking about everything that is there inside a pond. You will get to see the ecosystem of pond. Okay, lake, whatever things are there inside, the fishes, the small plants, everything, they are somewhat interdependent on each other, and they could survive only in a pond or only in a lake and nowhere else, because their climatic condition, everything is perfect there. Okay, so this is what you mean by lentic ecosystem or lotic ecosystem. Going ahead with wetland, by wetland you mean there is land and there is water, but this water is fresh water. It's not salty, it's fresh water. There is land and water, but this water is fresh water. For example, marshes and swamps. I can show you the images of marshes, and this is a marsh where, well, basically grasses are there and then water is there, as you can see over here. So they have very much amount of grass, very few trees, but they are very nutrient rich. Okay, so you will be finding small fishes inside this marshes and all. As you can see, there will be birds like this coming over here to have the fishes which is there. So they have a separate ecosystem. So this is what marshes. And if you talk about swamps, it looks like this, where you have big trees, and here the water is again fresh water. Do not get confused between mangroves and this. In mangroves, no, the water is not fresh water, it is mostly marine water. Okay, it is mostly marine water. Fine. Okay, then apart from that, there is bogs also, where there is more amount of peat, you know, dried grass is there, and also water will be there. That is something else. I don't want you to learn all of this thing, but at least if you can remember, in freshwater category there is ponds, lakes, rivers and streams, and also marshes and swamps. So wetlands comes under this particular category. Under marine, as I said, open oceans is there, seas are there, mangroves are there, and then you have something that is known as estuary. What do you mean by estuary, children? So when a river and a sea, it meets, you know, that area where the river and the sea meets, it is known as estuary. And here, the water which is there, it is known as brackish water. So you will be having a very different ecosystem over there. You will be having organisms that can survive in both, almost both. So there's another ecosystem that is present over there, and all of them they come under marine ecosystem. Why, you might ask, if river and this is coming together, it could include fresh water also, no? But we say majority of it, because if you only think some amount of salt water comes in, it becomes salty. Right, so this also becomes salty. So this is thing about natural. Okay, so natural ecosystem is something that is naturally there. We have not done anything for it to get sustained over there. Okay, at least we should not deteriorate it. That is the only thing. Now talking about artificial, that is something interesting. So artificial ecosystem, for example, do you have aquarium at your home? Do you have aquarium at the home? In your aquarium, you might see that you are putting water, then you have fishes, then you have small plants also, sometimes natural plants, sometimes artificial plants. But mostly when you talk about natural plants, I say that it's an artificial ecosystem which is formed over there. Okay, it's an artificial ecosystem which you are forming. Or else, if you have seen that people have small gardens. Okay, is this garden naturally over there? No. People generally, they have a kitchen garden or a garden behind their home. They are making this ecosystem, and they have small plants, then butterflies comes and sits over there. There will be bees and everything. There will be other insects. All of them, they are related to each other. They have an interrelationship with each other. So this is an example of artificial ecosystem, children. What is it? Aquarium. Okay, your kitchen garden, all of them, they come under artificial ecosystem. Cool? Works? Now let's get ahead. Yeah. So natural ecosystem, as you can see over here, it occurs naturally in nature and requires no human activity for its functioning. We are not required that they can sustain by themselves. Examples of natural ecosystem includes ponds, rivers, forests, etc., etc. Have you been to Amazon forest? Do you think you are needed there to sustain it? No. Not directly, indirectly you might be needed. Okay, but yes, that is the case. So natural ecosystem, it occurs naturally, children, and it requires no human activity. This is there in your notes. Going ahead, what do you mean by artificial ecosystem? It is human made structure. So this is something that we are making, where we are putting the biotic and abiotic components which is needed for them to survive. Now, is it self-sustaining? Can it sustain? Do you have an aquarium, and if you do not give them the food, will it sustain by itself? No. It is not self-sustaining. Again, the garden that you made, if you do not water it regularly, if natural rain is there, that is something else. But if you are not watering it and the climate is not suitable, will it survive? Again, something no. Okay, so all these examples they come under artificial ecosystem. And also your zoo, your agricultural fields. Now this examples gives you question. Tell the names of the artificial ecosystem, like 5 of them. If you do not know the names of 5 of them or 4 of them, you are going to be worried about it, right? So we have aquarium, we have agricultural fields which we only made, right? We have zoos, everything. It's not self-sustaining. It's not self-sustaining. It needs human attention over there. They are human made structures. So that is about artificial ecosystem as well. Going ahead, we have the homework. Did you do the homework that I gave you the previous day? If you didn't do the homework, I know it's very bad to interrupt, but if I put it in the first place, you won't be able to understand this anyways. You won't be having that urge to study our environment because it's a boring chapter. I don't want to make it really boring for you. So let's just quickly solve this and then we will go ahead with what? Our environment, okay? So we stopped over here where we spoke about artificial and natural ecosystem. Now we'll be talking about the biotic factors, the living factors that is there, okay, in our environment. So first question, select from the following the part or the parts of a flower which attract insects for pollination. You know, children, it is petals. Petals are the one that is beautifully colored and it attracts the insects and everything, okay? Now sepals is also there, but sepals are mostly not colored, just green in color, true to structure, okay? Now what is vegetative propagation? List its 2 advantages. You know, vegetative propagation is when the vegetative part of the plant is reproducing, not the gametic part. For example, flower is not the one that is reproducing over here. Leaves are reproducing, roots are reproducing, stem is reproducing. So these are all vegetative parts of the plant. Now what are the 2 advantages? It is very fast. You do not have to wait for years for a new plant to come. Okay, it is very fast process. Second thing, if you want a desired character, for example, I have a very nice plant. Now I want another plant with the same type of flowers, desired trait. Now I can do vegetative propagation by cuttings or cutting, grafting, using all these techniques, and then I can make an exact new plant like that. So again, I can get plants with desired quantities. And now the plants that does not produce seeds, they can also start reproducing because here there is no need of seeds. So I gave you 3 advantages. Now let's do distinguishing feature between sexual and asexual reproduction, children. In sexual reproduction, do you think that there is need of 2 parents? Yes. In sexual there is need of 2 parents, whereas in asexual there is need of just 1 parent. In asexual reproduction, you do not see fusion of gametes. In sexual reproduction, you see fusion of gametes. In sexual reproduction, you see more variation. In asexual reproduction, you see less variation because there is only 1 parent involved. Again, I have given you 3 points, okay? Name the organ that produces sperms as well as secretes hormone in human male reproductive system. What is that system? What is that something that produces sperm? It has to be testis. Okay, and it produces hormone. What is the name of the hormone, children? It is known as androgens. All of them together, they are known as androgens. The most famous androgen is testosterone. The most famous androgen is, children, testosterone. Okay, name the hormone it secretes and write its function. What is the function of testosterone? It maintains the male secondary sexual characteristics. Okay, if the male does not have secondary sexual characteristics, obviously it becomes difficult in the adolescent phase and also for the sexual activity to be continued, right? So all these are its functions. So you can say that. So if hormones are not there, again sperms won't be produced. And also, one more thing. Okay, so hormones are not there, sperms are not produced. Hormones are not there, secondary sexual characteristics are absent. Again, that's a problem for the reproductive phase to continue. Okay, name the part of the female reproductive system where fertilization occurs. You tell me, where does fertilization occur, children? In the fallopian tube. In the fallopian tube. Implantation of zygote, where does it take place? So zygote keeps on dividing and forms an embryo. Now this embryo comes and lands in where to form the uterus, to form the embryo and then the fetus? It's the uterus. I already told the answer, but yes, it is the uterus. Okay. Explain how the embryo gets its nourishment inside the mother's body. For this, I have a very good answer. Please copy it somewhere. This is a very important question as well. It has come so many times. So, the mother's uterine wall provides the blood supply that delivers oxygen and nutrients to the placenta. The embryo contributes to the forming of placenta as well. So, mother's uterine wall is involved in the formation of placenta, and embryo it also helps in formation of placenta with the help of its outer layer, which is known as trophoblast. So while embryo is formed, embryo is what? Mass of cells, children. So there is an outer layer like this and there is an inner layer like this known as inner mass. This outer layer that you see over here, this gets embedded in the uterine wall of the mother. Now this uterine wall of the mother and this particular layer, the outer layer, forms placenta together. Forms the placenta together, and this inner thing that you see over here, which I am going to mark in green, this is going to be forming the fetus. This part of the embryo is going to be forming the fetus. Now this part, that is the fetus, and the placenta will be attached to each other with the help of something which is known as umbilical cord. So you might have seen baby with their umbilical cord on the navel. Okay, this umbilical cord connects the placenta to the baby. Okay. So yes, the placenta connects the mother and the baby during pregnancy. It provides oxygen and nutrients to the baby through the umbilical cord. Why umbilical cord? Because umbilical cord had blood vessels, and over here there will be blood vessels from the mother. The blood does not mix but diffusion happens. Whatever things are more here is gets into the mother's blood. Whatever thing is more there comes over here. So oxygen comes over here, CO2 goes over there. So mother's blood vessels will be removing everything outside. Okay. Removes waste like carbon dioxide from the baby's blood, acts as a protective barrier filtering some harmful substances, talking about placenta, okay, and produces hormones that supports pregnancy. If those hormones are not being released by the placenta, this pregnancy won't be maintained. Okay, so these are the uses, and this is how the embryo gets its nourishment. You have to talk about what, say, the placenta, and wherever the baby is there, no, cut it and write fetus. Fetus, you have to use scientific term. Okay. Okay, now let's talk about the biotic components, my dear little children. Biotic means what? Living. So what are the living components in our system? First living component is the producers. What are producers? Producers are organisms that produce food for themselves and other organisms. Can you think of a producer which is there in your environment, which produces food for itself and for others? You can see the picture over here. These are the plants. Plants are the ones that produces food for themselves and also gives us, right? They use what, children? They use solar energy or chemical energy. Now, producers can be different. It can be plants or it can be some bacteria also. Okay, so bacteria in a way do not help us, but yeah, they can prepare their own food. Anyways, so plants, they use solar energy and simple inorganic molecules to make organic compounds. So what do you mean by that? Basically, you know that plants are using carbon dioxide and H2O to form C6H12O6. This is complex organic thing, children. This is the complex organic matter and this is the simple. These things are what? Simple inorganic substances. What do you mean by organic, inorganic, ma'am? Basically, when you do not have CC bond, I explained in where I was talking about life process, whereas there is no CC bond, that is carbon-carbon bond, or no CH bond, this becomes what? Inorganic. In CO2, there is 2 oxygen and 1 C. Do you see CC bond or CH bond? No. So this is inorganic. Now H2O, there is 2 H and 1 O. Do you see CC bond or CH bond? No. So this is also inorganic. Now C6H12O6. C6 as in there are 6 C's over here. I am not making all of them, but you can see there are CC bond as well as When it is H12, there will be CH bond as well. So they are organic things. Okay. So basically producers are the ones which makes food for themselves using the inorganic things, and they are going to convert into something organic, children. And with love, what do you call them? You call them autotrophs. What do you call them? Autotrophs. Auto means self and trophs means nutrition. We studied this in life processes. So they are the ones which make use of their body and they provide themselves nutrition. Self nutrition is happening over here, and they are using solar energy for that. Going ahead, we have consumers like us. So consumers are organisms. Don't read it now. Okay. So, or you can read it. Okay. Lion and there is a cow. Cow is saying, oops, lion ji, I thought we are a team. So they are not a team. Let's see why. So anyways, consumers are organisms that depend on other organisms for food. So consumers are organisms that is depending on other organism for food, just like us. Or for example, this particular lion which is going to eat this particular cow. Okay, so this lion is going to eat the cow, but the cow, which is also a consumer, is going to eat what, children? The plant. It is going to consume the plant. This is going to consume this. So they, both of them, they are what? Consumers. Just they are on different levels. Okay, just they are on different levels. Now these organisms who do not prepare their food but are depending on others for food, what do you call them? You call them heterotrophs. You call them heterotrophs. Again, hetero means others and trophs means nutrition. So basically, organism which depends on others for nutrition, they are known as heterotrophs. So consumers are organisms that depend on other organisms for food. They take in organic molecules. They take in organic molecules by essentially eating the other living. So basically, the plant was like, I made everything. I made my organic thing. And now this particular cow is going to eat the organic thing, and now whatever thing is there here, the lion is going to eat. So this is how system works. Together, what do you call them? Heterotrophs, because anyways, as you can see, they are depending on others for nutrition. They cannot prepare their own food. And what is this food that they are having? Organic things. Organic, complex organic things, that's something that they have. Obviously, we consumers cannot prepare inorganic things. Sorry, we cannot prepare organic things from inorganic things. Have you ever tried standing in the sun and thinking that I'll take in carbon dioxide like this, and the sunlight is coming and I can prepare food by myself? No, we have to be dependent on some source for food. Okay. Over here, as I said, we have to see different types of consumers. So primary consumers are the one that feed directly on the producers. What do you mean by producers? You know, right? They plants. So they are the ones that produces the food. Now the ones that directly feed on the plants, they will be coming under this particular category. That is what? Primary consumers, and they obviously have to be an herbivore. Only herbivores will be eating plants. Carnivores, do they go and eat plant? No, very rarely. So it is herbivores which feed mostly on the plants, so it will be herbivore. So the first primary consumer will be always an herbivore, or it can be omnivore as well. Omnivore means the ones that eat both plants as well as animals. But let's just think it to be a herbivore. Second thing, secondary consumers, those that feed on the primary consumer, they are either carnivores or omnivores. Again, let's just restrict ourselves to carnivores. It can be omnivores as well, but yeah, mostly it is just carnivores. So over here, what do you mean? Basically, the organisms which is going to feed on the primary consumers, which were feeding on the producers. Okay, so these are the secondary consumers. For example, a rat. Now, tertiary consumers are the one which will be feeding on what? The secondary consumers. So they are either carnivores or omnivores. Again, let's restrict ourselves to carnivores. So there is a snake over here which is the tertiary consumer, and it is going to eat what? The secondary consumer. So if you want to make a chart of it, I can tell you like this. So there are producers. What are producers, children? The plants. Agree? Then eating these plants will be some what? Grasshopper. Okay, some grasshopper. This will be what, children? The primary consumer. Okay, the first one to consume the plants. Now, going ahead, this grasshopper is eaten by a frog. This frog will be what, children? Secondary consumer. Okay, now this frog is eaten by a snake. Snake will be what, children? Tertiary consumer. Got it? Did you get this term? That is what we mean. And all of them, they are consumers in total. All of them, they are consumers in total. They are known as heterotrophs. Why are they known as heterotrophs? Because they are feeding on other organisms for food. From here to here, they are all feeding on other organisms for food. But poor this guy, that is producers, they are known as what? Autotrophs. They make their own food, children. They make their own food. They are not dependent on anyone else apart from the sunlight. Yeah. So I hope you got that also. Now, apart from that, apart from this particular category that is there, in every stage you might see some decomposers. What do you mean by decomposers? So decomposers are the one that is going to break down the organic things into inorganic substances. For example, certain fungi and bacteria. Okay, certain fungi and bacteria, you might have seen that decomposition is happening. What do you mean by that? Okay, just imagine this is a dead, rotten plant. Okay, or probably a dead organism, anything. So over there you might be seeing certain organisms grow and they slowly break things down and then it disappears all of a sudden. Why does it disappear? Because decomposition happens. There are microorganisms, children. There are certain microorganisms that will be breaking down the complex organic substances. For example, a plant, a leaf is a complex organic thing, right? This leaf is made up of organic substances. It made the organic substances. So obviously it will be organic thing. We human beings, we are also organic substances. So when decomposers, they are acting on us, they are making organic substances which is there in us convert into what? Inorganic substances. Always remember, this is complex and they are converting it into something what? Simple. What are decomposers? Can you think of the example? Bacteria, fungi, you know mushroom, it's a fungus, it's a decomposer. So all of them, they do what? For example, there is a dead organism over here and there is a fungus over here. We studied this again in the life process chapter. So fungus does not eat this thing. No, they release certain enzymes. These enzymes goes and acts on this food and now breaks it down, and whatever nutrients are there, just the nutrients is being uptaken by the fungus to grow. This is how they work. So similarly over here also, all the decomposers, literally bacteria, everything, they will be working like this. So a sweet gesture is there. Decomposers have a big heart. They give back things to what? Nature. And now again, these inorganic substances are utilized to form a new plant, and this plant is eaten by us, and the thing goes on, goes on, goes on, goes on. So decomposers are everywhere around our, around our cycle, this particular cycle that we just saw, I just made, right? So around anywhere, any organism dies, it is going to get decomposed. Now, we decomposers are also known as micro-consumers. Why micro-consumers? Since they are very small, they're minute structures, right? And that's why they're very small and sweet, hopefully. So over here, please understand the examples. You can remember like FB, Facebook, that is what? Fungi and certain bacteria, not all bacteria, but certain bacteria, they are what? Decomposers. Now decomposers are very different from the next thing that you are going to see, that is detritivores. What do you mean by detritivores? So detritivores are different from decomposers in that they consume material to break it down, while decomposers break it down externally. So detritivores are the one things. For example, a earthworm is a detritivore. An earthworm, it is a detritivore. Detritivore as in the ones that feed on detritus, that is dead organisms. But over here they are not releasing enzymes or stuff like that. They are feeding on it. They are feeding on the dead things, and in their body it's breaking it down and then they poop it out. They poop it out in the form of inorganic things. So that's the difference. Decomposers, they are feeding on dead things, but they are releasing their enzymes, they are breaking things down, and they are taking all in the nutrients. Over here, these things are eating the dead things, and then inside their body things get broken down and they poop it out. Okay, so detritivores and decomposers are different, children. Detritivores, for example, earthworm is used for making the soil more fertile. Why do we say that it makes the soil more fertile? Because it is feeding on the complex things which is there, the dead and everything which is there, which has lots of organic content. Now when the earthworm takes it, it breaks it down into inorganic things, and these inorganic things are used by plant to make organic substances again. So that is the thing. So detritivores, children, are different from decomposers. Please remember that. And why are we studying it over here? Because we are studying about biotic factors. What all biotic things are there, living things are there in our system. So producers are there, consumers are there, and then comes these things, that is detritivores and decomposers. Agree? Can we go ahead? Now, Now, I made that thing before, that is producers, consumers and things like that, remember? Primary consumer, secondary consumer, tertiary consumer, and there is quaternary consumer as well. But the list does not go ahead. I'll tell you why later on. So basically, I say that each of them which are over here, they are going to acquire one trophic level. So producers are on trophic level 1, this is on trophic level 2, trophic level 3, trophic level 4, trophic level 5. So trophic levels are nothing but different levels in the food chain. So this is a food chain. This guy is going to eat this, this guy is going to eat this. This is a food chain that is happening, right? So food chain, this different levels on which different animals are occupying these levels, this is known as a food chain, children. And you have to remember on which trophic level what organism you will be finding. So for example, on trophic level 2, you won't never be finding a producer, because a producer will be obviously there on trophic level 1, right? Now you would never find a secondary consumer if it's a carnivore on level 2, because you need someone to eat the plant first and then that will be eating. So you need to know the name of the trophic levels, trophic 1, 2, 3. So trophic level 2 is occupied by primary consumers. Trophic level 2 is occupied by primary consumer. Trophic level 3 is occupied by secondary consumers. Okay. So what do you mean by food chain? Food chain is nothing. It's a linear sequence of organisms through which nutrients and energy pass when one organism eats the another. So for example, over here, a chameleon is being eaten by some bird. Okay. And initially there was something else which was eating this thing. Okay, right. For example, a tiger is eating this particular organism. So this is a food chain, which is a linear sequence of organisms. Linear sequence of organisms through which nutrients and energy passes from one organism to another. Okay. Now going ahead, what are the different characteristics of food chain? And this is very much important. They will ask you to explain about food chain or the features of food chain. So you should be knowing. A food chain helps in understanding the food relationships and interactions. Okay, works. There's a decline in the amount of energy available as we move from one trophic level to another. We are going to study about that. That's why I said the trophic levels, the number of trophic levels cannot increase. It cannot be trophic level 6 also. There's a limitation there. Why? I'll tell you that. Okay. It's always straight. The food chain will be always straight, shows no alternative pathways. There won't be any alternative pathways. It will be always a straight pathway. Food chain has unidirectional flow of energy. Very important point. Very, very important point. It has unidirectional flow of energy, as in the energy from this particular organism is taken by this organism, and then this, you see this way. It is not going the other way around. It is not going the other way around. You won't see that grasshopper is being eaten by the frog. So the frog is being eaten by the grasshopper. You cannot see that. It does not work the other way. So basically energy goes from only in unidirectional way. And even though it interconnects, later on when this eagle dies, all the nutrients are being taken up and being used by the plants. All this is interconnected, but it is always unidirectional, children. Please remember that. Okay, it is always straight and it is unidirectional flow of energy. When you talk about food web, what do you mean by food web? So many food chains interconnecting to each other. It is known as food web, and as you can see, it's always one direction that it is being following. Okay, only one direction. It is not coming towards backside. So over here you have a rabbit which is feeding on a a wild cat which is feeding on a rabbit which is eating the green plant. Now there will be a wild cat that can eat the mouse also, and the mouse can also feed on the green plant, or basically the owl can eat. So there are so many things which are interconnected to each other, and this interconnected complex interconnecting structure is known as what, children? It is known as food web. Okay, it is a complex network of interconnecting and overlapping food chains. Works? Going ahead, what do we have? What do we have as a function or the structure of food web? Food web, as I said, interlinking a food chain. Food web is never straight. There can be alternate pathways. As you can see over here, there are so many alternate pathways. When you talk about food chain, there is only one pathway. Now, alternatives available in a food web make ecosystem more stable. Yes, otherwise, if the wild cat thought that I will eat only rabbit and all the rabbit did die off, what will it do? It will also die off. So we need to have alternate pathways. That's when they can survive and form a stable community. Yes. Now, okay, so in your NCERT there is a structure given over here. So they have mentioned primary producers, consumers, secondary consumer, tertiary consumer. They have put the name also. It is occupying the first trophic level, that is a plant. second trophic level is occupied by herbivores, third trophic level again carnivore, and then fourth trophic level top carnivore, probably a lion or a tiger, something like that. So they have given example also, grass, trees, grasshopper, then fishes, then lions. But they have also mentioned about something that is known as phytoplankton, zooplankton and all this thing. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? What are zooplanktons and phytoplanktons and why it is important? Because they ask in the question. So in the pond ecosystem, I told you I will be talking about pond ecosystem, right? So in the pond ecosystem, okay, let's see what are the biotic agents, okay? So there are plants, normal plants are there. As you can see, they are biotic, and I have mentioned phytoplankton to be biotic, zooplankton to be biotic. What are zooplankton and phytoplankton? Phytoplanktons are things which are like plants, they are not plants. Okay, they are not plants, they are like plants, and they will be also producing the energy. They are like plants. They are unicellular organism which is responsible for production of energy. Okay, they not energy, basically they also take sun's energy and make their own food. Now phytoplanktons, as I said, they are like plants, so obviously there will be other organisms which will be feeding on the plant like thing, right? These are zooplanktons. So zoo, with that name you can remember animal like, right? So they are like animals, they would be feeding on the phytoplanktons. Now zooplanktons, who are they feeded by? They are feeded by small fishes. Small fishes are feeding on the zooplankton. Now big fishes will be feeding on what? Small fishes. We humans feed on big fishes. In this way it goes on, or some other organism feeds on big fishes. So you have to understand, if you are making a pond ecosystem, children, the producer level will be occupied by phytoplankton, or basically any water body, and they are asking you to make, okay, they are asking you to make a ecosystem with phytoplankton and everyone there. How will you make a food chain? How will you make a food chain out of it? So the primary producers will be what, children? Phytoplankton, and then the primary consumers will be what? Zooplankton, and secondary consumers will be what? Small fishes. Tertiary consumers will be what? Big fishes. Okay, if you're finding it difficult to understand, I'll write it for you. So first we'll be having phytoplankton, which are like plants. It will be feeded by zooplankton. Zooplankton will be feeded by small fishes by big fishes. Agree? So this is occupying producer level, this primary consumer, this secondary consumer, this tertiary consumer. Works? Is it okay for you to understand? So simple, right? So that is how you have to make the pond ecosystem. Now going ahead, this is a normal ecosystem that we have. They might ask you to make a food chain. In that food chain you can use all these things, okay? Have an idea of things, that's all. Going ahead, heard about 10% law? Have you heard about it? And this is the reason why I said that the trophic levels cannot increase. The number of levels in the ecosystem or the food chain cannot increase. It's because of the 10% law. Have you heard about it? Well, you might have already heard about it because it is complete in the school, right? But I'll explain it to you. As of now, just forget this. Let's see over this. This law states that during transfer of energy from one trophic level, that is from one organism or one group of organism to the next level, only 10% of energy is available to the higher trophic level. So for example, there is some organism, it's feeded by some other organism, only 10% of the energy is passed on to the Y organism, and the remaining 90% is lost in respiration and heat. So basically remaining 90%, what is happening? It will be used up by some amount of it will be used up by what? By the organism itself, and some amount of it will be lost while the transfer is happening. Why is it lost? Because in physics we have laws. We have laws stating why is it lost. First law, let's see. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can just be transformed from one form to another. Let's keep that on hold. Second law, Every energy transformation that takes place will increase the entropy of the universe. In simple words, energy transformation cannot be 100% efficient. Some energy is lost as heat. So when you're transferring this energy, some energy has to be lost as heat, which is why you say that only 10% is going, rest 90% is not going, because some is lost as heat, some is used up by this particular organism also. Now where can you apply the first law of thermodynamics and what is all about this 10% law? Let's see it clearly. So you have the sun over here and you have a small little plant. So it is asking, sun bro, just give me at least 1 to 5% of the whole solar energy, no? And actually, does it give the 1 to 5% of the solar energy? Yes. So sun, no, it produces different type of lights. Okay, you have one ray which is known as visible light or visible, so visible light, which comes in a range of 400 nanometer to 700 nanometer. Apart from that, you have UV rays, you have X-rays, lot of things, but that is not useful for us. For basically not useful for us, as in not useful for the plants. Okay, they are using the visible light. Now, in this visible light, only 50% can be used. Okay, only 50% would be something that will be used for photosynthesis, for the process of photosynthesis. Now, in that 50% also, there is only 2 to 10% so better I write like this, rather than using it very complicated. Only 2 to 10% can be used as the ones which could be used for photosynthesis. Okay, only 2 to 10% of this is used for photosynthesis, which is why you call it photosynthetically active radiation. Active radiation or FAR. Now, out of this 2 to 10 also, okay, that is the thing. Okay, that is the thing. So plants is basically utilizing just 2 to 10%. But now if you see the total sun's energy, that is, it includes visible light, the UV rays, everything. If you see like that, then in total the sun is giving 1 to 5% of energy for photosynthesis. Okay, just 1 to 5. In your textbook, it's just 1%, so remember like that. Only 1% of energy is given down to the plants for the photosynthesis to happen. Out of the visible light also, only just 2 to 10% is actually used for, photosynthesis, which is why it is known as photosynthetically active radiation. Okay, now that is clear. Now over here, hey, little champ, do you mean 2 to 10% of photosynthetically active radiation, which is exactly what I have said over here. So, it's the same thing, right? 2 to 10% of this thing and 1 to 5% that is coming directly from the sun, it's the same thing. I just wanted you to know this term, that is photosynthetically active radiation, which is also known as PAR. Okay, and we are using just 1% of the sun's energy for the process of photosynthesis. Now let's go ahead. So explaining about this, why I have not mentioned that particular thing, just give me a second, okay? I want to see something. I have not mentioned. Over here I have mentioned. Chalo, let's see. So basically, how does question come on 10% law? Total solar energy is something around that much. Okay, there is 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, for the time being I'm cutting it off and I'm writing 30,000. 30,000 kilojoules of energy is got by the producers. I'm talking about the producers. Okay, they have 30,000 kilojoules of energy. Now, how much of this energy is passed down to the primary consumers? How much of this energy is passed down to the primary consumer? 30% of it, sorry, 10% of it, that is a 10% law, only 10% is passed on. So, 10% of 30,000, can you calculate it? What do you get? There is only what? 3,000. So, the primary consumer will be getting what? 3,000 kilojoules of energy. Going ahead, what about the secondary consumer? Let's see. Again, secondary consumer would be getting only 10% of this. So, same thing again. You have 3,000. 10% of 3,000 children, what is it? It's just 300. Again, it's just 300 kilojoules. Now, 300 kilojoules, again, if you do 10% of it, it will be 30 kilojoules. Okay. Now, again, if you do, if there is some other organism, it will be 3 kilojoules. Okay, it will be what? 3 kilojoules. Now, is there some energy to pass on to other organism? No, which is why the level of trophic, the number of trophic levels is limited, because you do not have energy to pass it on to the next organism, which is why it is limited. And it's a very important question, children. They will be asking you. Now, over here they will be mentioning about how much energy is given to producers. That is one question that can come. Okay, how much energy is given to producers? Sorry, what they will mention how much energy is given to producers, and they will ask you what is the energy that will be gotten by the secondary consumers or the tertiary consumers. They will ask you, or they can ask you what is the energy that will be gotten by the organisms that is on the second trophic level. So, second trophic level is not this. This is the second trophic level. That means primary consumers. So, questions can come in this particular format. I can explain it to you. Okay. I can explain this to you. For example, my question is, okay, secondary consumers have, what say, 4000 kilojoules of energy. What was the energy on the producer level? On the producer level. So, what do? You do into 10, but this is secondary consumer. So, there will be primary consumer also in between this. So, when you do into 10, it is 40,000 here in primary consumer, and then in producers it will be what? 4 lakh. Agree? Agree? You have to do into 10, into 10, into 10. That's how you will get. So, you have to do the opposite way. Okay, and they can also ask you, instead of secondary consumer, they can say that what say organism on the third trophic level had this much. How much is the energy on the first trophic level? So, third trophic level, this is the first trophic level, this is secondary trophic level, and this is the third trophic level. So, again you are talking about secondary consumers. You have to be knowing about what are the trophic levels, how it is different from consumer level. That is something else. Okay, so trophic levels start from the producers itself. That's how questions could be framed. Please be attentive over there. It's a very important thing, and you have to show it using 10% law, because only 10% is forwarded. Rest everything is what? Gone. Rest everything is gone in the form of respiration as well as heat, children. Now, energy cannot be destroyed, and it cannot be created or destroyed. It can be transformed from one form to another. Why did I say this? Over here, as you saw, sun's energy was given to plants. So, this energy is transformed. Light energy, in the case of plants, it is transformed to something that is known as chemical energy. So, sun gives light energy. I agree to that. But the plants, they have what? They store it in the form of chemical energy, and then they pass it on. So, this transformation, the energy cannot be created or destroyed. We cannot say the energy is gone. It's not like that. It is transformed. Okay, so that is also one thing. 10% law, please remember, it's very important. Now, going ahead with next thing, bioaccumulation. This is the most confusing topic, but this gives you lots of questions. I told you how questions are framed from the other portion. I will be talking about this as well. So, they will directly ask you about bioaccumulation and biomagnification. Both are different. Bioaccumulation and biomagnification is different. You only think, okay? You only think. When you say something is getting accumulated, what do you mean by that? That it's just there. It's just there, it is just accumulating itself. It's just present over there, okay? It is not being removed, it is just present over there. What do you mean by magnification? That is, it's not just present, it is increasing. That is what you mean by magnification. So, bioaccumulation leads to biomagnification. Is that okay? Too much accumulation of things will lead to its magnification. Right, it's not going, it is getting accumulated. More of it is getting accumulated. Now, it will be magnified. Yes. So, that is the difference between bioaccumulation and biomagnification. What is this thing that is getting accumulated? Let's see. So, over here, it is a process of accumulation of chemicals in an organism that takes place if the rate of intake exceeds the rate of excretion. So, for example, some chemical is being taken in by an organism. So, this is an organism. This is an organism, okay, and this organism feeded on something which had the chemical, and now the chemical is in its body. Okay, it has the chemical in its body. Now, it stays in the body because why? The rate of intake exceeds the rate of excretion. It is not moving out. The rate of excretion is less, but the rate of intake was more. It is not moving out. It was taken in. It can be taken in more amount also if the person does not know about it. So it's still there. This is known as this is the root cause of accumulation. Why? Because the rate of intake is exceeding the rate of excretion. It is not moving out, okay, or it is moving out in a very slow rate. You can think like that also. So accumulation of chemicals, not just chemicals children, it is toxic chemicals. And why are we studying about it? Are we bothered about this particular man? No, it's not like that. Basically, there are certain chemicals which if stays in our environment, we would eventually have it in our body as well. For example, in Kerala itself, okay, in Kerala, in Kasaragod, okay, so there was a chemical being used which is DDT, which is what? DDT. Now DDT was used for plants as a pesticide. So now what happened? It was there, it was taken by the plants also, it was there in the soil as well, okay. Now a human being, humans obviously feed on the plant, not just one plant, obviously there will be multiple plants, okay. So what was happening? The DDT which was there in the plant was being taken up by the human being. So now the human being is having this DDT, and this DDT is getting accumulated over time, because this is something which cannot be easily excreted out. It cannot be removed out of our body easily. The toxic things, they are going to cause trouble in our body. They are not going to be removed. We are taking it, we do not know, because no one can see a chemical, is just there. Now this is known as accumulation. But when the same thing is taken in a lots and lots of amount, and this increases, it leads to biomagnification. So now over here, obviously humans are not eaten by anyone, so it's okay. So it's just bioaccumulated. But think about something else. For example, DDT which was mixed in the water, goes to the fishes, the small fishes, okay. So small fishes had little amount of DDT in them, okay. Now these two fishes, okay, just imagine that they have 1 mg of DDT, okay. Now there will be a big fish, there will be another big fish, okay, and there are two more small fishes. There are two more small fishes again having 1 mg of DDT. Okay, I am explaining biomagnification to you right now. So obviously the DDT has accumulated, that is bioaccumulation. Now I am explaining biomagnification. What happens? There are 4 small fishes, yeah. This particular fish eats these 2 fishes, okay. They have only had 1 mg of DDT. Now you tell me how much mg of DDT will them be having? 2 mg. It had 2 fishes, okay. Has the amount of DDT increased in the next trophic level? Yes, it's a trophic level. Small fishes comes under one trophic level. The bigger fishes are the one feeding on it. It comes under the next trophic level. It's 2 mg over here. These 2 also were eaten by the fish. Now this fish will be also having 2 mg of DDT. Now these 2 fishes will be taken by some other organism. For example, take it to be lion or something like that. Lion. So you tell me how much amount of DDT will it be having? 4 mg. Is the amount reducing by any chance? No. The amount has been kept on increasing throughout the trophic level, and this is what is known as biomagnification. And why is biomagnification happening? Because bioaccumulation is happening. Things are not going outside. It is just getting accumulated in the body of the organism. Okay, so accumulation is the process, bioaccumulation is the process of accumulation of the toxic chemicals in an organism's body, because the rate of intake is exceeding the rate of excretion. So it's just there. Now what do you mean by biomagnification? It's the increase in the concentration of the toxin. It is the increase in the concentration of the toxin at successive trophic levels. At bigger trophic levels, it is increasing. The toxin gets accumulated because a toxic substances cannot be metabolized or excreted. It cannot be broken down or excreted. It's just passed to the next higher trophic level, which is why this magnification is happening. So as I said, these crabs are there. The crabs are eaten by small fishes. Now small fishes have this thing in limited amount. Now when it eats both of them, obviously it will one organism will be having this much amount of thing. Again, this organism is eating other one. So obviously it will keep on increasing. It won't decrease. And this is known as biomagnification, and this is very, very, very important. Very important for every one of you to understand this. Bioaccumulation, biomagnification always comes. You have to give an example. You can give the example of DDT and explain it to them. No problem. Okay, DDT is a pesticide that was used for plants. Now you can show from the soil it is went to the water bodies, then the small fishes will have this much. When the small fishes are eating the bigger fishes are eating the small fishes, they are getting more of it, and when the bigger fishes are getting eaten by some other organism, they are getting more of it, because it is showing what's a biomagnification. Everything is getting accumulated. This happens, biomagnification happens due to bioaccumulation, and because it is not getting metabolized or excreted. Okay, please remember this entire line. You have to write it like this only. Increase in the concentration of toxin at successive trophic levels, as in the coming trophic levels. Agree? Okay. Now let's solve some questions. Are you ready, my dear children? And then we will go ahead with the next one. What does 10% law say? Less than 10% of energy is transferred to each trophic level from the lower trophic level. Is this less than 10% of the energy? In that way we won't be able to survive. Okay, so that is wrong. Only 10% of the energy is transferred to each trophic level from the lower trophic level. Okay, only 10% of the energy is assimilated from the eaten food. Okay, consumer gains 10% mass of the consumed food. So complicated. When we have something very, very simple, can't we just go with it? Yes, we can go with it. It's a straight statement. Okay, that is 10% energy. Only 10% of energy is transformed from each trophic level to the next trophic level from the lower level. That's all. That's all. Easy as that. Next thing, the second trophic level in a lake is, yes, this is the question I was saying. What is the second trophic level in a lake? Can you tell me in the comment section, children? Phytoplankton, zooplankton, benthos, fishes. What do you mean by that? It will be always second trophic level. So phyto is the first trophic level. Second will be what? Zooplankton, and then comes fishes. So this will be the U. Yes, it will be the zooplankton. Okay. Going ahead next. Which trophic level is incorrectly defined? Let's see. Carnivores, secondary or tertiary consumers. Are carnivores secondary or tertiary consumers, children? Just imagine. Carnivores, can they be secondary consumer? What do you mean by secondary consumer? As we say over here, if this is a plant eaten by grasshopper eaten by frog. Okay, so this is the secondary consumer, this is the primary consumer. So carnivores, can it be a secondary consumer or tertiary consumer? Yes, it can be. Frog, okay, can be a secondary consumer, it can be above that. That's okay. So this is correct. Next, decomposers are microbial heterotrophs. Are they microbial heterotrophs? Do they feed on this thing? Yes, they are heterotrophs because they are depending on others, and they are microbial, right? They are microbial. So that's correct. Fungus, bacteria, everything comes under that. So that's also correct. Herbivores are primary consumers. Herbivores, children, are they primary consumers? You tell me. Herbivores, are they primary consumers? Yes. This is the primary consumer, and herbivores, grasshopper, come in this category. Next thing, omnivores, molds, yeast and mushroom, they are omnivores? No. What are these things that are seen over here? They are decomposers, children. They are decomposers. They are going to feed on dead and organism, dead and rotten organism. They are not omnivores. Omnivores are the one that feeds on, plants and animals in general. Okay, they are decomposers. They come under that particular category. They do not come under this particular category. They do not come under the consumer category. Okay. Next thing, what is the role of decomposers in the ecosystem? Again, very important question that has come. Decomposers help in decomposing the dead bodies of plant and animal. Agree? Yes. Decomposers help in putting back the various elements of the dead plants and animals. Yes, obviously first thing, you do not want dead things to get accumulated, so you want clean up. So over there that is done. Second thing, you want the elements which is stored in the dead organisms to come back to the soil itself. So that is there. So they help in recycling of the nutrients. I think both of them can be made in the first point itself, second point itself. They decompose dead remains, thereby provide space for new life to settle in the biosphere. Yes, if you're just accumulating a lot of things, it will be a problem. And also decomposers are not letting other organisms, for example, if it just stays there, other pests will come, you would have so many diseases. So you need decomposers over there. So that is a role of decomposers in our environment. Going ahead, what will happen if we kill all the organisms in one trophic level? So you decide to kill all the producers. What will happen? Do you think consumers will be there alive? Do you think we will be there? No. If you are making one difference, you're going to cause one difference in the food chain, everything is going to go. So the food chain would end and ecological balance would be affected. The herbivores, if they are killed, the carnivores would not be able to get food and die. If carnivores are killed, population of herbivores would obviously increase. Now if they are increasing, plant won't be there because they are going to eat plants, right? So again producers will be killed. So if producers are killed, the nutrient cycle in that area would not be completed. So in a way, everything is linked to each other. So you have to keep a note on that. You have to write the answers just like this. Okay, and there is a pyramid that you have to follow. This is how the pyramid looks, children. Obviously in exams you have to make this pyramid and show the answer. The producers, whatever name is there, you can write it over here and you can mention that this is the primary. So this is the first trophic level, this is the second trophic level, this is the third, and things like that. That's how you need to explain things. Draw the pyramid and then explain. Okay, just like this. So which among them is a secondary carnivore? Tell me, which among them is a secondary carnivore? Question you're seeing, no? Carnivore I am asking, not consumer. So which among them is a secondary carnivore? This is a carnivore, this is the primary carnivore, this will be the secondary carnivore. Which among them is a secondary consumer? So this is the primary consumer, this is a secondary consumer. So frog is a secondary consumer. Okay, so this is how things could come, but not this easy questions come in your boards. Okay, expect difficult questions, some tricky questions, where not tricky questions exactly, but they will make you think of those things which you thought might be so easy for you and you just ignored. The role of decomposers, for example, they will ask you for 3 marks and all. You do not know what are the roles, you just know that they are the ones that decompose dead organisms. You do not know what more to write about it. So that is what I was saying. They were the ones that clean up the whole thing. They are not allowing the growth of pests or anything like that. If they are not there, obviously you will have diseases. That is one thing. And again, you want the nutrients to get recycled. For that you need them. Okay, you want space in the environment. For that you need them. So these are the small things that comes and it does not directly come in your brain when you are writing the exam. So you should be knowing that. And this is very much important, very important. Please practice certain questions. Okay. Now, that was all about the biotic components, children. That's all about the biotic components. Now, let's talk about abiotic components. As I said, it is made up of inorganic as well as organic. Sorry, abiotic as in non-living things. As in non-living things, something that is not in your control. Climatic factors, whatever climatic factors comes in there, those are abiotic factors. Edaphic factors as in something that is related to soil. Okay, organic compounds, whatever chemicals are being made, that comes under abiotic components. Inorganic compounds, whatever inorganic things which does not have CH or CC bonds, all of them, they come under abiotic components. This is not something very much important, just for you to know they are non-living things, that's all. Okay, and these are the substances that comes in this category. Yeah. Going ahead, let's talk about waste management, something very important from this chapter. So they always ask about biodegradable things and non-biodegradable things, and they ask you, why is biodegradable thing bad? So you do not know the answer. You always think biodegradable things are good, right? So how can they be bad? And you do not know about it. So now I will be telling you how is this possible, how can you write the answers. So let's talk about waste management. You know there are different type of waste, gaseous, liquid, solid, and lots of waste. Now all of them together can be categorized into 2 things. Okay, one is biodegradable and the other one is what, children? Non-biodegradable. Now if you want to know about biodegradable waste, it looks like this. We can read it out. Okay, waste that can be degraded using natural means or biological process, something that can go off naturally or you use biological means such as you put certain bacterivores, certain earthworm or things like that, and then it goes. But you are using biological means, there is no chemical treatment, nothing like that. That is, so biological process, that is by the action of microorganisms into simple and harmless substances. This is known as biodegradable waste. Waste that can be degraded naturally, okay, or by biological processes. Now what do you mean by non-biodegradable waste? Waste that cannot be degraded using natural means or biological process, but with the help of physical processes like heat and pressure. For example, you know, in incinerators, in hospitals and all, you have incinerators. What do? Basically, in the case of incinerator, no, you have a machine where you put all the plastic items and it gets burned. That is what incinerator is. Over here, are you using any biological method to destroy it? No. You are basically using some physical process. You are basically using some physical process, which could be heat, which could be chemical, which could be pressure, anything. So all of them, they come under non-biodegradable waste. Now, what are different ways in which I can make use of it? First thing, okay, how can I dump it? Landfills, there will be areas, landfills, basically, which will be a storehouse of all these things. Okay, this is about non-biodegradable things. Okay. So landfills are there, okay, where all these things are being put. There's a hole, okay, very big hole in which you put all this thing and it just stays there for so long. And slowly with time, some of it can, break down. There could be some other processes which you can put chemicals in there, but it's not really good. Okay, so this is what landfill. Second thing, what you can do with the non-biodegradable waste, you can recycle the waste, right? That's a good way to help, right? So you can recycle the waste. Apart from that, children, if it is biodegradable, you can help in the preparation of compost. You can use this biodegradable waste for the preparation of compost. Compost will help as a manure to your growing plants. So you can use this kitchen waste of yours, okay, and then you can use it as a manure for the plant growth in your kitchen garden or garden like that. Yeah. Second thing, same thing for biodegradable waste, you can use for production of biogas as well. So biogas is where you're using methane and stuff like that for your kitchen purposes again. Okay, so again, the biodegradable waste can be used for all these purposes, but non-biodegradable waste, you can either put it in the landfill, okay, or it goes to the process of incineration, where I said with the help of fire and all, it's burned off in a system, okay, and then, or you can do recycling of waste. That is a perfect way, but most of the things cannot be done, so it goes to landfill, which is why we say we should not be using most of the non-biodegradable things. It's not good for our future itself. It's not a part of sustainable development where we are creating a space for the future generation. No, it's not like that. We are destroying it. So we should not be, when someone gives us plastic bag and all, we should say no, we do not want a plastic bag. Instead, you take a paper bag or cloth bag, and you would take it and go. That's a good way of doing it. Okay. Now, disadvantages of biodegradable waste. Can you think of something first, and then I'll explain about to you. Can you think of what can be a disadvantage of biodegradable waste? Think of your home only. If the biodegradable waste, that is for food matter and everything, stays in the dustbin itself, what is the problem that is happening? First thing, it gives a very bad smell, very foul smell, yeah. And then there will be lots of worms and pests that will be forming over there. Okay, and now imagine it to be an open space. So obviously there will be pests which could cause diseases as well. Where there will be pests which could cause diseases as well. That is a problem. Yeah, and also you're filling up areas. It's a very slow process. Biodegradation is a very slow process. It takes time, right? Decomposition takes time. It's not a very fast process. So obviously that area is gone for some time at least. So all these things are the problems. Let's read it one by one. Foul smell. Organic waste can produce foul smells during decomposition. That is thing. Pest and diseases. Biodegradable waste tends to attract pests such as rodents and everything. Groundwater contamination, yes. So there will be certain liquids which will be released by the biodegradable waste. It will go to the groundwater, contaminate it, and then again, if you are using that for any purposes, you might get diseases. That is also one thing. Apart from that, the one point that I told you, basically, what was it? Even I forgot. Okay. Okay. Time taking process. It's a very time taking process, so obviously it needs some time to get decomposed in a whole. So that is one thing. Okay, so until that time even our area will be lost. Now disadvantages of non-biodegradable waste, lots of disadvantages you might be knowing. Environmental pollution, landfill would overflow, wildlife would be harmed. Why? Because when these things are being put like that, the cows and all, you know, people wrap everything in the plastic and put it, food and all. So now the cows, they go and eat, they try to eat the food, but they also eat the plastic. That's a very big problem, right? Long decomposition time, again they need longer time than biodegradable waste. So obviously that is a problem. Next thing, health risk is there because some certain, again, non-biodegradable things can cause release toxic substances when they react with some chemicals or stuff like that. When there is sunlight, they will melt into chemicals, okay, and these chemicals can slowly get into our groundwater and make us sick over there. So again, that is a big problem. So you can put down all these points in the answer. Okay, do not take this slides very leniently. It's a very, 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 very important question. Okay, now going ahead, let's talk about ozone, and after talking about ozone, I think we are finishing up the chapter. Ozone and CFCs, after that it's done. Okay, so that's a good thing. Let's see how ozone forms. So meet oxygen atom, my dear children. So this is an oxygen atom, and meet oxygen molecule. So what's the difference between oxygen atom and a molecule? Basically, when two of them, they come together, they are forming a molecule of oxygen, that is O2. Now, and then they met each other. So oxygen atom and the molecule, they met each other and they form what? Ozone. So O3 is known as what, children? Ozone. Ozone is a highly reactive gas composed of 3 oxygen atoms. You should be knowing about it. They have 3 oxygen atoms. Now, what's the problem? Where is the ozone layer present? So we say we have ozone layer in the environment. Where is it present? So you know there are different layers. There is troposphere just outside. There are different atmospheric layer. First is tropo, then is strato, then is meso, thermo, exosphere. It goes on like that. So in the stratosphere, if you see, ozone layer is present almost 15 to 30 kilometer from the earth's surface in the stratosphere. So from 15 to 30 kilometer from the earth's surface in the stratosphere, you will be finding the layer of ozone, which is highly rich in this ozone gas, which is highly rich in this ozone gas. And what is the use of this ozone? Ozone basically protects us from UV rays. It absorbs the UV rays, it is protecting us. So how is the ozone layer made? Let's see that. Basically, there is sun and there is oxygen. Okay, now because of the sun's ray, the oxygen, it splits into 2 oxygen atom. It splits into 2 oxygen atom. Now what will happen? And they broke up just to patch up with what? So basically over here you saw oxygen just broke up, yeah, into 2 oxygen atom, and they're going to patch up with another oxygen molecule, O2. So O2 plus O gives you what? O3 over here. Similarly, O3 over here. I'll tell you once more. So over here, what was the case? Oxygen molecule was there. With the help of sun rays, it broke down to oxygen atom. Okay. Now they are going to react with separate oxygen molecules like that and form O3. Now we have lots and lots of O3, which makes the ozone layer. Okay. Well, the UV radiation splits the oxygen molecule into the free oxygen or O atoms. These O atoms combine with the molecular form of oxygen to form the ozone. That is why we say that UV radiations are being absorbed by the ozone layer. Okay, this is the main reason. Basically, when UV radiation falls, they are splitting, they are forming ozone, and the same thing repeats every now and then. And in this way, UV radiations are being absorbed. It does not come to us. Okay, if we have too much amount of UV radiation, it will be probably causing what? Skin cancer. Now, can anything destroy the ozone layer, children? Yes. And now comes the villain. There is some villain that destroys the ozone layer. Let's see who is that. CFCs, or what do you call it? Chlorofluorocarbons. Chlorofluorocarbons. Chlorofluorocarbons are the ones that destroys the ozone layer. Now, what is the use of ozone layer? Please understand that first. As I said, it is responsible for UV radiation absorption, and when UV radiations are absorbed, there is less risk for us to get cancers like skin cancer, stuff like that, and also our eyes will be protected, or else probably our eye vision will be very much damaged. Okay. Now, going ahead, also our organ will be having deformities, lots and lots of trouble are there. Now, let's see CFC molecule and how they are going to cause the trouble. So over here, So over here there is CFC molecule where there are there are 3 Cl, that is chlorine atoms. So there are 3 chlorine atom, 1 carbon, and then there is fluorine atom. Okay, chlorofluorocarbons. Now when sun's rays fall on this particular CFC, 1 Cl is being released. Okay, 1 chlorine atom is being released. This chlorine atom sees that oxygen, 3 oxygen, basically they are combined to form O3, and they do not like it. They do not like it. They want to break this friendship. So what do? They become friends with 1 oxygen atom over here. So now it's ClO and oxygen molecule, right? There is 1 O over here, rest of them are there. Okay, now what do you have, children? Over here, later on, similarly they will do same thing only. Free oxygen atom releases chlorine. Slowly this particular free oxygen atoms, they will also, okay, there will be another reaction. Or at least there will be free oxygen atom in our environment also. This free oxygen atom goes react with this, and what will be happening? We will get oxygen molecules, and the chlorine is now released again. This chlorine will again go on the reaction and keep on doing this again and again. I'll tell you once more. Basically, we have O3. We have O3 in our environment, right? Now, what happens to the O3? Basically, the O3 over here, 1 O is taken by the Cl. So ClO has been there, and then oxygen molecule is there. Okay. Now what happens? Basically, there will be oxygen atom there apart from this also. So now the 1 oxygen atom comes and attaches with the one that is there with the Cl. Now there will be oxygen molecule over here, and the Cl will be free. The Cl will again do the same reaction. It goes on. This is how CFC is going to cause a trouble in the ozone layer. So CFC are broken down by ultraviolet radiation to release chloride ions that react with ozone. The chloride ions break the ozone down into oxygen. 1 chloride ion can destroy 1 lakh ozone molecules. You see, 1 chloride ions, you see that particular ruckus it is making, it causes to destroy 1 lakh ozone molecules, which is very disturbing, right? So where are these chlorofluorocarbons released, and what is our our nation doing to protect us from this thing? So basically, chlorofluorocarbons, they are released from refrigerators, they are released from this thing, what do you call this, from our motor vehicles and stuff like that. And initially people didn't know about it, so people used to have those refrigerators which were releasing CFCs. Okay, but then later on, when a hole was suspected in the ozone layer, okay, in Antarctica at that particular time, so they thought that now we should be taking certain strict measures, and let's see what is that. So the amount of ozone in atmosphere began to drop sharply in 1980s. Okay, before all of us were born. This decrease has been linked to synthetic chemicals like chlorofluorocarbons, which were used as refrigerants and in fire extinguishers, Okay, in 1987, just 1980s they found out, and 1987 the United Nations Environment Program, remember this, very important, United Nations Environment Program. So United Nations have an environment program, you can remember like that, succeeded in forging an agreement to freeze CFC production at 1986 levels. It is now mandatory for all the manufacturing companies to make CFC free refrigerators throughout the world. So 1987, the United Nations Environment Program, okay, UNEP. If you do not remember, you can remember like that. You give me a pen, ulta. Okay, PEN. But please don't write UPEN, okay? United Nations, that you can remember, right? Environment Program. That's all. UNEP in 1987. 1987. So here also you can remember 789. Okay, 1987, do not write 1789, I will kill you. So it is 1987. Fine. And at that point of time, UNEP decided that we should not be producing what? Refrigerators which would be releasing CFCs. Okay, that is how it was done. Now, what if there is no ozone? What if there is no ozone layer? Okay, skin cancer, these are again very important thing. Skin cancer will be caused, damage to eyes, okay, cataract will be caused, there will be hole in the retina. That is what you mean by cataract. Damage to the immune system, increased embryonic mortality, as an embryo which is there in the womb of the mother, it will also die. Okay, in plants too, there will be increased death rate of seedlings, increased incidence of harmful mutation and reduction in yields. Lots and lots of things will be happening for us. Skin cancer, eyes will be damaged, your lenses will be damaged, cataract will be caused, damage to the immune system, everything damaged. Okay, all type of damaged. There will be increased embryonic mortality, embryos will be dying off. In the plants also, the death rate and the yield will become less. So these are the problems of ozone if there is no ozone in our environment. Now one very important thing, there's a question that has come, what if the ozone is there in the ground level, not in the stratosphere but in the ground level? Now this ozone which was there in the stratosphere, it was all good. When it comes to a ground level, it is toxic for us. Now if it is there in the ground level, it can cause all of these things. Okay, if it's there in the ground level, it can cause respiratory issues. Okay, I'll write it over here. Ozone is harmful in the ground level. Okay, ozone is really harmful in the ground level. It can cause respiratory issues as well. Cool, will you be able to remember it? Please remember the role of CFCs and how they do all this problem. Make it and learn it. Okay, make the diagram and then learn it. Not make fancy diagram, easy diagram. Now this is the homework for you, my dear little children. Please do this homework and then come. Okay, now we are ending the this particular midterm series, but obviously we will be back again helping you prepare for the boards. We would be giving you previous year questions really soon. Okay, so many questions which have been coming over the years, which has some similarity to other questions which have come in the boards. All of them we will be publishing it, and we would be having a video for science as well as math. So stay tuned for that as well. And apart from that, when board comes, the pre-board time, also we will be giving out you something. Okay, so that's all. If you want the PDF, as I said, go to the description box, click on the link, and then you will be guided to this particular page where you can get the PDF link. Okay, and also one more thing, if you are a person who is in 10th, obviously you might be in 10th, but you are not very sure of what you should be taking forward, medical courses, engineering courses, or some other courses, then you can take the DSAT exam, that is Diksha Scholastic Aptitude Test. Over here you would be having a 90-minute concept based lecture, after which you would be having an aptitude test, after which there will be a one-on-one counseling, and you will be told that what will suit you much better. Then that's your option. Okay, so that is there, and you can get up to 90% scholarship as well. So that's all, children. If you think that this particular video was useful for you for understanding this particular chapter, I request you to subscribe to the channel, and also tell me in the comment section that you liked it. I'll be really happy seeing your comments. And also one more very important thing in this chapter, please give due importance to ozone, CFC, biomagnification, and the role of decomposers, and how biodegradable waste are bad for us as well. Okay, so these are the few points which you never imagine, but it comes. And also the energy levels. Okay, the energy, how it is transferred, 10% law, it is very much important. Okay, so that's all. I hope that this particular video had been useful for you. Bye bye, children, take care. Bye bye.